What's happening? So this is Peter from Fringe Sport. You can't smell me, but I'm like really sweaty because it's Austin, Texas. It's super freaking hot and it's been raining, so it's super muggy. But Susie's manning the camera. Hi, Susie. And if you guys have any comments, as always, down below, down below, down below. Give me some comments, I'm here for you. So real quick, we got in some new wrist wraps. Not really a huge product launch for us, but just a few wrist wraps, so we're gonna talk about those. So let's go walk over here. I don't even know where they are, so I'm gonna have to find them. So I'm gonna walk backwards so you don't have to see me from behind. Okay, is this what we got? What's up, Steven? Awesome. So we've got our table of wrist wraps and Oso collars and a few other things, some of the One Fit Wonder weight belts here. So before we went live, Susie had asked me a question about wrist wraps. Why would you use one version of wrist wrap versus another, and really what are wrist wraps for? So here you go. So we've carried these wrist wraps from Atlas Power Wraps for quite a while. Great wrist wraps. But we wanted to branch out a little bit and try a different type of wrist wrap for at least a little while and kind of see what's going on. We're still carrying Atlas, still love Atlas. So we also have a little bit different colors here in wrist wraps, slightly different design, but ultimately it's a similar type of wrist wrap. So first of all, really quickly, how do you put a wrist wrap on? So little spoiler alert, I actually don't use wrist wraps very often for myself, but I do know that a lot of people do. So why do I not use wrist wraps very much myself? So I've got fairly good wrist mobility, both when I'm in a rack up here, when I'm locked out overhead, or even for push-ups or things like that. So the reason that you might want to use wrist wraps of one style or another is if you have some level of mobility problem or weakness in the wrist. I've got a really good girlfriend who has very weak wrists because she had surgery on her wrists, and so even to just do push-ups, she likes to wear wrist wraps because they provide that extra support. Now, so that's why you might want wrist wraps. So basically they're gonna provide a little bit of extra strength there around your wrist. So we carry two main types of wrist wraps. These are more the Olympic style of wrist wraps, and you see they're very floppy. We've got a fan going and they're kind of blown away because it's not a very strong or substantial fabric. So this is kind of the Oli or CrossFit style of wrist wrap. And then we've got the powerlifting style of wrist wrap. So here's the powerlifting. So you can see here the Oli or CrossFit style, not very substantial. There's no elastic in them at all. And then we've got the powerlifting style of wrist wrap here. So the powerlifting style of wrist wrap is a more substantial fabric. And you can see as I stretch here, it's a very stretchy fabric. And I'm probably gonna get this wrong, especially because I'm installing it over my watch. But let's see, I think it's this way, there you go. So you've got a thumb loop here, so you're gonna put your thumb through the loop, and this is the powerlifting style. And you're gonna wrap it around your wrist. Oops. You're gonna wrap it around your wrist, and you're gonna get it so the elastic is tight. And so what that's done there, and then you don't have to wear the thumb loop if you don't want to at that point. So you've got it nice on the wrist there. It's providing a lot of compression on my wrist. If you can look there, you can even see some of my veins popping out just a little bit because it is actually compressing on the wrist. So again, this is more the powerlifting style. It provides a stronger support for your wrist, but there's not as much mobility. And if you take it off, it's kind of liable to fall off unless you have that wrapped around your thumb. So it's not as easy to put on tight and then loosen up. Although, it can be done. One of the reasons why I mentioned how easy or hard it is to put on tight and then loosen up is that this Oli or CrossFit style is actually easier to have nice and tight and then to have loose but still stay on your wrist. This is important if you, say, are doing a workout where you're doing thrusters, and so you want the wrist support when you're going overhead, but maybe you're then transferring into a pull-up. And maybe you don't want that wrist support. You don't want this like cage around your wrist for the pull-up. So the powerlifting style, you're gonna get more support, and it's an elastic type of wrist strap, but it's not gonna be as easy to wear kind of loosely on your wrist, or it's not as common to wear it loosely on your wrist. So here's the Oli style. What you're gonna do is you're going to flop one end over your wrist, and then you're going to wrap and flip, wrap and flip. You're gonna keep doing that until you're almost done. And then when you've got this string, you're gonna pull on it, get it a little bit tight, tuck that string underneath, and then you're actually going to, like, have you ever been in high school? You ever been in middle school, elementary school, and you run around the playground and somebody gives you an Indian burn where they're, you know, twisting your arm with their hands? So you're basically gonna mimic that and give yourself like an Indian burn here, although it doesn't hurt, with the wrist strap. And so if you can see there now, the wrist strap is nice and tight. You reverse that, and then the wrist strap actually opens up. So if you see the mobility I have in my wrist here with it relatively loose, now nice and tight, not so much mobility. It's got a nice strong girdle there. So that's why you use this for Olympic movements and CrossFit style movements, because you can go from tight, which is not as tight as the powerlifter version, to looser, but it'll still stay on your wrist. And because it says Fringe Sport, you're gonna look amazing. So that's what the two wrist wraps are. And like I said, we've got this new style of wrist strap in here. The main difference between it and the other wrist straps that we carry is mainly gonna be an aesthetic thing. You know, some people might like the looks of one style better than the looks of the other style. Now, if you're on the fence, let's forget about the aesthetic differences. If you're on the fence between choosing between a powerlifting style wrist wrap and a Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit style wrist wrap, to be honest, you're probably gonna be well served by either style. But what I would say is take a look at your training. Are you doing more Oli, are you doing more CrossFit, or are you doing more what we would consider powerlifting, or at least the power movements, squat, deadlift, bench press? If you're doing more powerlifting stuff, get the powerlifting style wrist wraps. If you're doing more weightlifting stuff, get the weightlifting style wrist wraps. And it's really as easy as that. That said, you know, there are a lot more options in terms of aesthetics on the weightlifting style. So a lot of people tend to go that way just because there's a few more options there. So again, here's the powerlifting style. So Susie, you're behind the camera. Did that really answer all of your questions and possibly some of our customers' questions on the wrist wraps? Awesome. Now, guys, doing this Facebook Live thing for you. So we happen to be talking about wrist wraps right now, but if you've got any questions or comments, just hit us up down below. I will answer anything and everything. If you recall, the last time I was live, someone asked me to dance like a monkey, and I delivered. So anything you want down here, but now we're gonna move on and we're gonna talk about strength bands. I'm just gonna throw this back here. Awesome. And by the way, as I'm filming this, we're in the Fringe Sport retail area in Austin, Texas, and we're moving into the Fringe Gym in Austin, Texas. If you're ever coming through Austin, or you live here, come by and visit us. So at the retail location, it's 10% off our web prices, and we love, love, love to see our customers. And then as far as the gym goes, we are eventually going to start charging for our gym, but as of right now, the gym is free. All you got to do is show up, sign a waiver, says you're not going to sue us if anything untoward happens, and then, you know, go for it and start training. And by the way, a lot of the Fringe crew starts training in like the late afternoon to early evening. And then we do a fitness class on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. So come by and see us. So now we're gonna talk strength bands. Over there. What questions you got, Susie? What questions can I handle for you as I'm handling it for all these people who don't write me any comments?
We have a really thick 4-inch strength band.
Okay.
What are your suggested movements or training options for that?
Awesome. So one of the things that Susie just asked, if you guys can't hear, is we have a really thick strength band. What are my suggested movements for this strength band? So really quickly, I'm gonna put this strength band here and I'm gonna grab a couple of the more common sizes for us. So here we go. We've got a few of the more common sizes. So because we sell to a lot of functional fitness types, a lot of waters, a lot of CrossFitters, we're going to be mainly selling a lot of the more narrow strength bands. So you've got the purple one here, you've even got the thin little red one, we've got a black that kind of bridges between the purple and red, and then we've got a green, and the green actually is probably our most common, and then we've got blue and we've got orange. So the typical use, before I move into what the heavy one is for, the typical use for strength bands that we're selling them for is to assist in pull-ups. So what you do, and we're gonna move over to this pull-up bar. So what you would do to assist pull-ups for someone that doesn't have any pull-ups, and you'll take a green or whatever color the strength band is, you toss it over the top, pull down on that strength band, and there, the strength band is installed. That pull-up bar is a little bit high, so we don't rehearse any of this before we start filming, so you may get to see me get smacked in the face or testicles by this strength band. So keep watching. So once you get this up here, you're gonna wanna pull the strength band down. You're gonna wanna get it on the foot of the trainee, or possibly the knee. So let's see what happens here. So you're going to get it on the foot, not sure if you can hear me. And you typically want them to cross their feet. And then this strength band is going to assist in the pull. Now to get down, you're going to want the trainee to be very careful. It's under elastic power, so it can very easily pop back up. Boom. There you go. I want to apologize to everyone who's watching at home. You did not get to see me get popped in the face or testicles, but there's always tomorrow. So now let's roll over here and we'll talk about some of the thicker strength bands. So a lot of these strength bands come out of the powerlifting community, where you're going to have a platform, and if you can kind of see in the back here, let's so this is in a working warehouse, so you know this is where the magic happens. So you've got these strength band hooks here, which you're going to put strength band. Let's see if I can do this.
Getting out of the target zone.
What did I tell you? We're doing this thing live. Who installed this thing? So we're not going to do that right now. Basically, what appears to have happened is whoever installed it didn't put in some under pieces there, but we'll pretend like nobody saw that. But basically, you're going to hook the strength band through those two hooks, and then, for example, if you're deadlifting, oh yeah, watch your head there, Susie. If you're deadlifting, you're going to have the strength band over the bar, so it's going to provide a little bit of, I don't know, asymmetric loading to that bar. So when you pull it up, the strength band is going to cause more weight, more effective weight to be on the bar when the bar is higher, and less weight to be on the bar when the bar is lower. And the reason for this is the higher you get that bar in the deadlift, the more mechanical advantage you're going to have over the weight. So the strength band is going to put more load on that bar. But let me show you something else fun that you can do with these thick strength bands. So I was introduced to this by the guys over at Atomic Athlete, and basically this is going to be really, really wonky, but essentially you can do an inversion with the strength band. So we're going to go over to the pull-up bar, just like we were setting up the pull-ups, but instead we're going to do an inversion to help elongate the spine or something like that. I'm not a physio, so don't don't take my medical advice. Go consult a doctor first. But let me show you how to do an inversion. Another side bonus, just like I mentioned with installing the strength band for pull-ups, where you could possibly see me get smacked in the face and or testicles. This one I'm going to get into the inversion and kind of hang myself upside down by myself, so you might get to see me crack my head open. Good times. So we're going to pull this down, toss it aside. We're going to do the same thing with this very large strength band. All right, somebody call 911 if I fall on my head here.
Have you done this
Watch
before?
that one. Everybody behind Susie is like laughing at me and watching me right now, by the way. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, buddy. So ideally, you want to have the band, it's resting a little high for me, but ideally you want to have it resting at your hips, and then, let's see if I can get this bench out of here. Again, somebody call 911 if I fall on my head. But then you can stretch down and really open up your back. So you can do this as an inversion. I'm not doing the most beautiful job of it now, but I was squatting today, so it does feel nice. Now to get out of it, that was beautiful. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Woo! All right. Anybody have any comments or questions yet, Susie? Down below for the comments. Yeah, so I'm sweating even worse than I was when we started. All right, Susie, the woman behind the camera, do you have any other questions about strength bands?
What's the weight capacity of that band? I believe it's 80 to 200 pounds.
I believe it's 80 to 200 pounds capacity on that band. We do mention that
Or weight
on
capacity. I mean the weight.
the strength.
Yeah,
Exactly. Sorry, the strength. And the reason that there's a very broad stretch of strength, 80 to 200 pounds, is that it's going to provide more resistance the more stretched out it is. I mean, obviously right now where I'm not even touching the band, it's providing like no resistance because it's just free hanging. But yeah, it's going to be 80 to 220 pounds resistance. So for me, I weigh about 205 pounds, and you saw that with me, upside down, it stretched out, 3 feet something, maybe 2-3 feet, something like that, maybe 4 when I was doing the inversion. Any other questions or comments below? All right, so now we're gonna move over to a product that was a new product for us a few months ago. It sold really well, and then we went out of stock on it, and now it's back and it's new and improved. Now this is the One Fit Wonder Life Series squat rack. Why is it called Life Series squat rack? Well, basically it is a squat plus pull-up rack that we ship to you anywhere in the lower 48 United States for $199 with free shipping. So a $200 squat plus pull-up rack. So the reason that we call it Life Series, and maybe we need to do a little better job wordsmithing this, is because it's definitely not a commercial grade squat plus pull-up rack. What this is designed to be is it's designed to be an awesome entry to mid-level rack for the garage gymmer. So if you're watching this and you're a box owner and you're like, holy crap, $199 squat plus pull-up rack, I need to buy one, I'm certainly not gonna stop you, but I will say it's not the best option for box use. Now, the good news is if you want one for box use, we've got one in the $400 to $449 price range that's super freaking solid. It's going to be 11 gauge steel, 2x3 box steel. It accepts a variety of upgrades like spotter arms, like dip stations, that sort of thing, and that's really going to be a great box option. But if you're a garage gymmer, especially garage gymmer starting out, maybe you don't want to pierce the floor to install something, you don't want to pierce the wall to install a rig, you don't have the space, you don't want to install a pull-up bar from the ceiling, this is really an awesome, awesome piece. So the One Fit Wonder squat plus pull-up rack. So if you'll move a little bit closer here, Susie. So one of the things that we did that makes this really great for a garage installation is that it's not very tall. You know, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, I'm 5'7", 5'8", and without standing on tiptoes, I can touch my hand up to the very top. The reason this is important is that a lot of garages or homes have fairly low ceilings, so we didn't want to go too high with the bar. And if you're very tall, obviously you're doing pull-ups, you can just kind of kick your legs up and hang. Oh, there you go. And do those pull-ups. But again, we wanted a piece that would fit really well into a variety of different garages or homes. So, one upgrade that we made between the first version of this, which you may or may not have, and this version, is that we went with a thicker diameter pull-up bar. So the first version was really well received by our customers, but it had a fairly thin diameter pull-up bar, so we went ahead and we beefed that up for this one, so that's going to be even better. It's stiffer and it feels a lot better in the hand. What else did we change? So we made a minor modification here on the J-cups. We still have these same green J-cups, but we've got a little bit of protection for the bar on them now. So even if you've got this fairly inexpensive squat pull-up rack, which again is $199 shipped to anywhere in the lower 48 United States, check it out on our website right now. But even if you've got this relatively inexpensive squat rack, if you've got your nice barbell on it, you now have some protection on the J-cups from your barbell getting dinged up when you rack it into the rack. So another change that we made is what change did we make? Maybe that's it, the changes that we made from the first version. But a few other things just to keep in mind. So while this was not designed for kipping, it has a few features that make it great for pull-ups, so dead hang. And again, although it's not designed for kipping, depending on how strong your kip is, it may well withstand the kip. So if you can point it down here, so those are weight horns that you can store bumper plates. So they're Olympic size weight horns. And the more weight that you stack on here, obviously the more stable it's gonna be. Now another piece that you can see down here is we've got these two little flanges sticking out to the side, so you can actually bolt this thing to the ground. So if you really want to kip on it, just bolt it to the ground and then kip away, and it's gonna be absolutely fine, no problems whatsoever. Now, you might expect that with a $200 squat rack, you make some trade-offs. Absolutely you do. So we use a thinner gauge steel on this than we use on our full-size commercial grade squat plus pull-up rack, but we still rate it for up to 400 pounds. Now, I don't have a 400-pound squat. You know, I'm in the mid 300s, honestly, for my max. I feel comfortable squatting on this thing, although I will tell you that when I'm doing a max rep squat at, you know, mid 300 pounds, I probably like a little bit more of a stable squat rack to re-rack into. That said, there's nothing wrong with this one, so let me just move these down just a little bit.
We had a question earlier about the thickness and the width of that band that you were using.
The thickness is 4 inches. So that red band that I was using here, let's pivot. That is a 4-inch wide band. As far as the thickness of the band, I'm a little bit unsure of that. I would say it's probably like a 1/4 inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch right there. But we can find that out after we finish filming, which will be shortly, and we'll talk about that. I want to show you guys really quickly re-racking a squat into this rack. So, Susie, if you'll follow me with the camera. So we've got a 20 kilogram bar in the rack. I'm loading 10 kg Vaughn plates on each side. and then I'll throw another 15 kg on each side, and you guys can watch me re-rack. So now we've got 70 kg on the bar. So what's that, 154 pounds on the bar, and you can see what it looks like when I rack it. Awesome. It's gonna be a nice height, I think. So here we go. Guess I didn't even squat. So, very exciting video, I know. But I just wanted to show what it looked like when we were re-racking a little bit of weight onto that bar. So that's a little bit in excess of 150 pounds. Susie, why don't you move over to the side? I'm gonna re-rack it again. So, I don't know if that was necessarily illustrative of what you're looking for, but you can see it's solid for re-racking that. You know, not the thickest gauge steel rack in the world. Again, we have those racks if that's what you're looking for, but a really, really great rack, and one that I would recommend to almost anybody who's looking to build a awesome garage gym and do it on a budget. Not doing it on a budget, get a kind of higher grade, commercial grade rack. That's what I would do. But if you're doing it on a budget, this is gonna treat you really, really, really well, and you have to be really, really, really strong before you outgrow this rack. So, are there any more comments below, Susie? Awesome. Well, this has been Peter from Fringe Sport. Remember, we've got a strength band sale going on right now. We've got the One Fit Wonder Life Series rack back in stock, $199 shipped anywhere in the lower 48 United States. Remember, we always do free shipping to everywhere in the lower 48 United States. By the way, is there anything that you have questions about, anything that you want me or us to talk about? Leave it in the comments here, or send us a message, or post on the page. We'll answer everything and anything. So, this has been Peter from Fringe Sport. Susie has been manning the camera, womaning the camera, excuse me. Thank you very much. Cheers, lift heavy.